Hello everyone, welcome to the What If Anime YouTube channel. Today, we are diving into an exciting new story that will take your imagination to the next level. Let's get started. What if Naruto disappeared during Chunin exams and returned with his family? The Forest of Death lived up to its name. Ancient trees towered overhead, their canopies blocking out the sunlight and casting the forest floor in perpetual twilight. A symphony of insects and predators filled the air with an uneasy chorus, punctuated by the occasional scream of a genin team encountering something they weren't prepared for. Team 7 huddled in the hollow of a massive tree root, their faces grim in the dim light. Sasuke clutched his shoulder. The curse mark Orochimaru had given him pulsing with malevolent energy. Sakura's eyes darted nervously between her teammates, exhaustion evident in the dark circles under her eyes. "We need to keep moving," Sasuke grunted, fighting back another wave of pain. Naruto's blue eyes narrowed as he peered out into the forest. "I'll scout ahead. There's a clearing about 50 meters that way." He pointed east. "Might be a good place to rest properly and come up with a plan." Sakura grabbed his sleeve. "Don't go too far, Naruto. We need to stick together." He flashed her his trademark grin, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Don't worry, Sakura-chan. I'll be back before you know it, believe it." The words hung in the air long after he disappeared into the underbrush. Neither Sasuke nor Sakura could have known they would be the last words they'd hear from Naruto for years to come. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. At the hour mark, Sasuke pushed himself to his feet. "Something's wrong. The idiot should have been back by now." Sakura nodded, her pink hair bobbing with the movement. "Maybe he ran into trouble. An enemy team or one of the forest's residents," Sasuke finished grimly. "Come on." They moved carefully through the forest, following the path Naruto had taken. The clearing was exactly where he'd said it would be. A small patch of open ground where the canopy had thinned enough to allow dappled sunlight to reach the forest floor. But of Naruto Uzumaki, there was no sign. "Naruto!" Sakura called, then immediately clapped a hand over her mouth, remembering they weren't alone in this forest. Sasuke activated his Sharingan, scanning the area. There's no sign of a struggle. No blood. Nothing. Could he have been captured? Sakura whispered, fear evident in her voice. Sasuke's jaw tightened. Not without a fight. You know how he is. They searched for hours, calling his name with increasing desperation until exhaustion forced them to find shelter for the night. "We'll find him tomorrow," Sakura said, though her voice lacked conviction. "He's probably just lost." Sasuke said nothing, his dark eyes fixed on the forest beyond their shelter. The curse mark throbbed, and with it came a sense of foreboding he couldn't shake. Something was very wrong. Morning came, and with it, no sign of their missing teammate. By afternoon, they had no choice but to continue toward the tower at the center of the forest. Their deadline was approaching, and they still needed an earth scroll to complement their heaven scroll. "We can't just leave him," Sakura protested. "We're not leaving him," Sasuke replied, his voice tight. "But we need to reach the tower. The proctors can organize a proper search." What neither of them knew was that no amount of searching would find Naruto Uzumaki. He had vanished completely, as if he never existed at all. Kakashi Hatake stood before the Hokage's desk, his visible eye betraying none of the turmoil he felt inside. The third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, looked every one of his 70 years as he studied the report before him, and there was no sign of struggle? No indication of what might have happened? The third asked, his voice weary. "None, Lord Hokage," Kakashi replied. "The ANBU teams have combed every inch of the forest of death. It's as if he simply disappeared." The Hokage sighed, smoke from his pipe wreathing his face. "This is most troubling, especially given what he contains." The unspoken fear hung in the air between them. If someone had taken Naruto for the nine-tailed fox sealed within him, the consequences could be catastrophic. "I've suspended Sasuke and Sakura from the remainder of the exams," Kakashi continued. "They're not taking it well. Especially Sasuke." "Understandable." The Hokage nodded. "And what of Orochimaru's curse mark on the Uchiha boy?" "Sealed for now," Kakashi said. "But it's powerful, and Sasuke is vulnerable. We'll need to watch him closely." The Hokage nodded, dismissing Kakashi with a wave of his hand. When the Jonin had left, Hiruzen turned to the window, gazing out at the village he had protected for so long. "Oh, Minato," he murmured to the ghost of the fourth Hokage. "Your son is missing, and I fear we may never find him." In the days that followed, Konoha was a village on edge. The Chunin exams continued, but with double the security and a palpable tension in the air. Rumors spread like wildfire. Naruto had deserted. Naruto had been kidnapped by enemy shinobi. Naruto had been killed by one of the Forest of Death's monstrous inhabitants. Team 7 was fractured, its remaining members drifting like ships without anchors. Sakura threw herself into training with a determination no one had seen in her before. Sasuke became more withdrawn, the curse mark a constant reminder of his own weakness. And then came the day of the third Hokage's funeral. Rain fell in sheets, as if the heavens themselves mourned the passing of the god of shinobi. The invasion by the sound and sand had been repelled, but at terrible cost. Now, the villagers stood in solemn rows, white flowers clutched in their hands as they paid their respects. Sakura stood beside Sasuke, her green eyes red-rimmed from crying. "He should be here," she whispered. Sasuke didn't need to ask who she meant. His fist clenched at his side. "A lot of people should be here who aren't." The rain continued to fall, washing away tears and blood alike. In the aftermath of the invasion, the search for Naruto Uzumaki had been all but forgotten by most. But not by those who had known him best. In the shadows of the village, others took note of his absence as well. In a dark cave, illuminated only by the ghostly projections of its members, the organization known as Akatsuki held council. "The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki has disappeared," reported a figure with ringed purple eyes. "Our intelligence suggests he vanished during the Chunin exams, before the invasion." "Convenient timing," remarked another. His silhouette revealing eyes was spinning red Sharingan. "Could someone else have taken him?" "Our sources say no," replied the first. "It's as if he vanished from this world entirely." "Keep searching," ordered the purple-eyed figure. "We need all 9-tailed beasts. Without the 9 tails, our plans cannot come to fruition." The projections flickered and faded, leaving the cave in darkness once more. Across the shinobi world, the wheels of destiny continued to turn, but now on a different path. One that no longer included Naruto Uzumaki, or so they thought. Time marched relentlessly forward. Seasons changed, children grew, and the world of shinobi continued its dance of alliances and betrayals, wars and uneasy peaces. 3 years after Naruto's disappearance, Sasuke Uchiha left Konoha, seeking power from Orochimaru that the village could not give him. His departure left another hole in the fabric of what had once been Team 7. Sakura, determined not to be left behind again, became the apprentice of the 5th Hokage, Tsunade Senju, throwing herself into the study of medical ninjutsu with ferocious intensity. 5 years passed. Then 6. Jiraiya of the Sannin, who had taken a special interest in Naruto due to his connection to the 4th Hokage, maintained an extensive intelligence network dedicated in part to finding any trace of the boy. But even the Toad Sage's vast resources turned up nothing. It was as if Naruto Uzumaki had never existed at all. On the anniversary of Naruto's disappearance each year, those who had known him would gather at Ichiraku Ramen, his favorite haunt. The first year, it had been solemn. Irika, Kakashi, Sakura, and the rest of the rookie 9 sitting in uncomfortable silence, memories of the loud-mouthed blonde hanging heavy in the air. By the 6th year, the gathering had evolved into something warmer, a celebration of the life and spirit of a boy who had touched their lives, however briefly. Stories were told, laughter shared, and tears shed, but always with fondness rather than grief. "Remember when he painted the Hokage monument?" Kiba roared with laughter, slapping his knee. "The ANB chasing him all over the village, and he was just a kid with a bucket of paint. Or the time he used his sexy jutsu in class and poor Irika-sensei nearly died of a nosebleed." Ino added, giggling. Irika blushed but smiled fondly. "He was a handful, that's for sure. But he had the biggest heart of anyone I've ever known." To Naruto. Sakura raised her cup of sake, her voice strong despite the hint of moisture in her eyes. "Wherever you are, we hope you're raising hell and eating too much ramen." To Naruto. The others echoed, glasses clinking together. In a quiet corner, Hinata Hyuga dabbed at her eyes. She had perhaps loved Naruto the most purely of anyone, her quiet admiration never having had the chance to blossom into something more. As the night grew late and the gathering began to disperse, Kakashi lingered, staring into his cup. Sakura, now a jonin and renowned medical ninja in her own right, sat beside him. "You're thinking about him, aren't you, Kakashi-sensei?" she asked softly. Kakashi's visible eye crinkled in what might have been a smile beneath his mask. "He'd hate that we still call him a genin. Probably would have been Hokage by now, the way he was always going on about it." Sakura laughed, a bittersweet sound. "Probably." Her expression grew more serious. "Do you think he's still alive out there somewhere?" Kakashi looked up at the stars visible through Ichiraku's open front. "I don't know, Sakura. But if anyone could survive whatever happened to him, it would be Naruto." What neither of them knew was that at that very moment, far from Konoha, a figure stood atop a hill overlooking a small, peaceful village nestled in a valley. Spiky blonde hair ruffled in the breeze, longer now and tied back in a ponytail reminiscent of the fourth Hokage. 3 whisker marks on each cheek caught the moonlight as the figure smiled. "It's time to go home," Naruto Uzumaki said, his voice deeper than it had been 6 years ago, but carrying the same undercurrent of determined optimism. A slender hand slipped into his. "Are you sure, Naruto-kun?" asked Anko Mitarashi, her wild hair now grown long and her face softer than it had been in her days as a special jonin of Konoha. "Yeah," Naruto nodded, squeezing her hand. "They're ready." He looked down at the 2 small figures standing before them, twin boys of about 5 years old, with spiky blonde hair and curious eyes that held both their father's mischief and their mother's intensity. "Konoha, here we come." Naruto grinned, the expression so familiar it was like stepping back in time. "Believe it!" The main gates of Konoha stood tall and proud in the morning light, the massive wooden doors thrown open to welcome travelers and returning shinobi alike. Izumo and Kotetsu, eternal gate guards, lounged at their station, the monotony of their duty broken only by the occasional interesting traveler. "Another slow day." Kotetsu yawned, stretching his arms above his head. "Better slow than exciting," Izumo replied, flipping through a bingo book without much interest. "Last time things got exciting at the gate, Pain was dropping by for a visit." Both men shuddered at the memory of the devastating attack that had nearly destroyed the village 4 years prior. Konoha had been rebuilt, stronger than before, but some scars ran deeper than architecture. Speaking of visitors, Kotetsu squinted down the road, where 4 figures approached through the heat haze. "We've got company." As the travelers drew closer, details became clearer. A tall man with spiky blonde hair tied back in a ponytail, walking with the easy confidence of a seasoned shinobi. Beside him, a woman with purple hair cascading down her back, her posture alert despite her casual stride, and between them, 2 small boys who darted ahead and then back, exploring the road with the boundless energy of youth. "Something familiar about that guy," Izumo muttered, leaning forward. The travelers reached the gate, and the man stepped forward, a wide grin splitting his face. "Hey there! Long time no see, Izumo, Kotetsu." The gate guards froze, recognition dawning in their eyes as they took in the whisker marks on the man's cheeks, the startlingly blue eyes, and that unmistakable grin. "And Naruto?" Kotetsu nearly fell off his chair. "Naruto Uzumaki?" Naruto's grin widened. "The one and only." "Man, you guys haven't changed a bit." Izumo was already on his feet, disbelief written across his face. "But you've been missing for 6 years. Everyone thought you were dead?" Naruto finished, his expression sobering slightly. "Yeah, I figured. It's a long story." He gestured to his companions. "This is my wife, Anko, and our sons, Erashur and Minato." The shock on the guards' faces doubled at the word, wife, and tripled at the sight of Anko Mitarashi, former special jonin of Konoha, who had herself been missing for almost 5 years. "Anko? You too?" Kotetsu sputtered. Anko gave them a smile that held echoes of her old sadistic grin. "Miss me, boys?" The twins, oblivious to the adult's shock, bounced on their toes with excitement. "Is this Konoha too-san?" asked one, his eyes, a curious mixture of Naruto's blue and Anko's brown, wide with wonder. "Is this where you and Ka-san are from?" "Sure is, Erashur." Naruto nodded, ruffling the boy's blonde hair. What do you think? It's huge! Exclaimed the other twin, Minato, who differed from his brother only in the slightly darker shade of his hair and a small birthmark below his right eye. Izumo shook his head, trying to process the situation. Naruto, we need to notify the Hokage immediately. Your return. It's going to cause quite a stir. I'm counting on it. Naruto replied, his grin taking on a slightly mischievous edge that reminded the guards of the boy he had once been. Lead the way. As they entered the village, whispers and double takes followed them. A civilian woman dropped a basket of fruit, apples rolling across the street. A Chunin on patrol nearly fell off a rooftop. Is that? It can't be. Naruto Uzumaki? And Anko Midarashi? Look at those kids, they're the spitting image of him. The news spread to Konoha like wildfire, racing ahead of them toward the Hokage Tower. By the time they reached the base of the tower, a small crowd had gathered, murmuring and pointing. Among them stood a pink-haired woman in a red vest, her green eyes wide with shock and something like hope. She pushed through the crowd, moving with the purposeful stride of someone who commanded respect. Naruto? Sakura Haruno's voice was barely above a whisper, but it cut through the noise of the crowd like a knife. Naruto turned, his blue eyes lighting up at the sight of his former teammate. Sakura-chan, he called, waving enthusiastically. You look great. Did you miss me? The question hung in the air for a heartbeat before Sakura closed the distance between them in a blur of movement. Her fist connected with the top of his head, sending him crashing to the ground in a manner reminiscent of their genin days. 6 years! She bellowed, standing over him with fists clenched. 6 years without a word. We thought you were dead, you idiot! Naruto rubbed his head, wincing. Yep, still got that monster strength, Sakura-chan. Some things never change. Anko stepped forward, her posture subtly shifting into something more protective. Easy there, Pinky. That's my husband you're pummeling. Sakura's fury gave way to confusion as she registered Anko's presence. And then the two small boys who were staring up at her with wide eyes, half hiding behind their mother's legs. Husband? Sakura repeated, her voice faint. Her gaze dropped to the twins. And children? Naruto, what the hell is going on? Before Naruto could answer, a new voice cut through the growing crowd. I think we'd all like to know the answer to that question. The crowd parted to reveal Kakashi Hatake, now wearing the robes and hat of the Hokage. His visible eye fixed on Naruto with an intensity that belied his casual posture. Naruto Uzumaki, Kakashi said, his voice carrying the weight of his office. You have a lot of explaining to do. The Hokage's office was silent save for the ticking of a clock and the occasional rustle as someone shifted in their seat. Naruto sat across from Kakashi, with Anko beside him and the twins on a bench near the window, quietly playing with toys Sakura had procured for them. Also present were Shikamaru Nara, now the Hokage's advisor, Sakura, who had refused to leave, and an ANBU operative who stood silently in the corner, their mask concealing their identity. Start from the beginning, Kakashi said, his fingers steepled before him. What happened in the Forest of Death 6 years ago? Naruto's customary grin faded, replaced by a solemnity that seemed out of place on his features, despite his maturity. I went to scout ahead, like I told Sasuke and Sakura. He began. There was this weird energy in the clearing, like chakra, but different. More ancient. I thought it might be a trap set by another team, so I created some shadow clones to investigate. He leaned forward, his eyes distant with memory. The moment my clone touched this shimmering spot in the air, it was like everything folded in on itself. I got pulled in and then I was somewhere else. Another world, another dimension. I don't know exactly what to call it. Another dimension? Shikamaru's eyebrows rose. Troublesome. Very. Naruto agreed with a wry smile. It wasn't like our world. Chakra existed there, but it worked differently. The people, the geography, everything was strange. I spent months just trying to figure out how to survive there, and you couldn't find a way back? Sakura asked, her earlier anger giving way to concern. Naruto shook his head. The portal, or whatever it was, had closed behind me. I tried everything I could think of to reopen it, but nothing worked. After the first year, I almost gave up hope. So how did Anko end up there? Kakashi asked, his gaze shifting to the purple-haired woman. Anko leaned forward, her voice carrying the edge that had once made Genin tremble during the Chunin exams. I was on a mission tracking remnants of Orochimaru's experiments about a year after Naruto disappeared. I found this weird seal array in one of his abandoned hideouts. Being the curious type, she shrugged. I activated it. Next thing I knew, I was in a forest that looked like home but wasn't, surrounded by creatures I'd never seen before. And that's where you found Naruto? Shikamaru prompted. A soft smile crossed Anko's face, transforming her features. More like he found me. I was half dead from fighting off the local wildlife when this blonde idiot came crashing through the underbrush, looking way too happy to see another human from our world. Naruto reached over and took her hand, the gesture so natural and intimate that Sakura felt a pang of something she couldn't quite name. We stuck together after that. Naruto continued. Two Konoha shinobi in a strange world. At first, it was just about survival. Then, he glanced at Anko, his gaze softening. Things changed. I never would have guessed you two would end up together. Sakura murmured, still trying to process the unlikely pairing. Anko's grin was sharp. Life's full of surprises, isn't it, Pinky? Turns out the brat grew up nicely, and he's got stamina that. The children, Kakashi interrupted smoothly, though his eye crinkled in amusement. They were born in this other dimension? Yeah. Naruto nodded, throwing a proud glance at the twins. Erasure and Minato. Named after my dad. Well, his title and his name. Kakashi's eye softened at the mention of his former sensei. He would be proud, Naruto. So how did you get back? Shikamaru pressed. After all this time, Naruto exchanged a look with Anko before answering. That's where it gets complicated. About a year ago, the twins started showing unusual abilities, even for that world. They could manipulate the energy there in ways even Anko and I couldn't. And then, about 6 months ago, they both had the same dream, of a fox with 9 tails, telling them the way home. Kakashi straightened in his chair. The 9 tails contacted them? Naruto nodded, his hand unconsciously moving to his stomach where the seal containing the fox resided. Kurama, that's the fox's name. He'd been trying to find a way back too. Turns out he doesn't like being stuck in another dimension any more than we did. He helped the twins create a sort of tear between the worlds. It took months of preparation, and we could only maintain it long enough for the 4 of us to slip through. That's quite a tale. Shikamaru remarked, though his tone suggested he believed it. And convenient timing, considering what's been happening here. Naruto's brow furrowed. What do you mean? Kakashi sighed, removing his Hokage hat and running a hand through his silver hair. The Akatsuki have stepped up their hunt for the Jinchuriki. With you gone, they've already captured several of the tailed beasts. They believe the 9 tails was lost to them when you disappeared, but if they learn of your return, they'll come for me. Naruto finished grimly. He glanced at his children, his protective instinct evident in his posture. Well, let them try. I'm not the same kid who disappeared 6 years ago. No, Kakashi agreed, studying his former student with a calculating eye. I can see that. Your chakra signature is different. Stronger, but also more controlled. I had to adapt to survive in that world. Naruto explained. And I had a good teacher. He grinned at Anko, who rolled her eyes but couldn't hide her smile. We should discuss your reintegration into the village. Kakashi continued. Your old apartment is long gone, I'm afraid. After the pain attack, much of the village was rebuilt. Pain attack? Naruto repeated, confusion evident on his face. Like I said, Shikamaru drawled. A lot has happened while you were gone. A knock at the door interrupted them. At Kakashi's call to enter, the door opened to reveal Hinata Hyuga, her long indigo hair framing a face that had lost its girlish roundness but none of its gentle beauty. Lord Hokage, I have the reports you requested about. Her voice died in her throat as her pearl-like eyes landed on Naruto. And Naruto-kun? Naruto stood, his face breaking into a warm smile. Hinata! Wow, you look great! Hinata swayed slightly, and for a moment Sakura thought she might faint, just like in their Genin days. But the Hyuga heiress had grown in confidence over the years. She steadied herself against the doorframe, her wide eyes taking in not just Naruto, but Anko and the children as well. "You're alive," she whispered, joy and something like pain mingling in her expression. "You're really alive," seems to be the general consensus, Anko remarked dryly, though she watched the Hyuga woman with a calculating gaze. Naruto, oblivious as ever to Hinata's feelings, bounded over to her. "It's so good to see you. Man, everyone's changed so much. I bet Niji and Kiba and everyone are totally different too, huh?" A shadow passed over Hinata's face at the mention of her cousin. Sakura stepped forward, placing a gentle hand on Naruto's arm. "Naruto," she said softly. Niji died during the Fourth Shinobi World War. 3 years ago." The joy drained from Naruto's face, replaced by shock and grief. "War? Niji's dead?" He sank back into his chair, the weight of all he had missed suddenly crashing down on him. Who else? Who else is gone? The atmosphere in the room grew heavy as Kakashi began the grim recitation of those who had fallen in Naruto's absence. Shinobi he had known, fought alongside, considered friends. With each name, Naruto seemed to age, the burden of survivor's guilt evident in the slump of his shoulders. Anko moved to stand behind him, her hand on his shoulder offering silent support. The twins, sensing their father's distress, abandoned their toys and hurried to his side. Minato crawled into his lap while Erasure pressed against his leg, both looking up at him with worried eyes. "It's okay too, San," Erasure said with a child's simple certainty. "We're home now." "That's good, right?" Naruto gathered his sons close, drawing strength from their presence. "Yeah," he said, his voice rough with emotion but steadying. "Yeah, that's good." Kakashi watched the family with a thoughtful expression. "There's an empty house in the Sarutobi district you can use for now. It's modest, but it should serve until you decide on something more permanent." "Thank you, Lord Hokage," Anko replied formally, though there was a hint of her old mischief in her eyes as she addressed her former peer by his title. "Just Kakashi, please." He waved a hand dismissively. "At least in private." "And Naruto," his eye fixed on his former student. "Welcome home. Despite the circumstances, it's good to have you back." Naruto nodded, some of his old determination returning to his gaze. "It's good to be back. And I promise, I'm not going anywhere this time." As they prepared to leave, Naruto hesitated at the door, turning back to Kakashi with a question that had clearly been weighing on him. "Sasuke," he said simply. "What happened to him?" The silence that greeted his question was answer enough. News of Naruto's return spread through Konoha like wildfire, igniting 1,000 rumors in its wake. By evening, it seemed the entire village knew that the demon brat turned hero had returned with a wife and children in tow. The Sarutobi district house was modest but comfortable, with a small garden that immediately captured the twins' imagination. They darted about, exploring every corner of what would be their new home while Naruto and Anko unpacked the few possessions they had brought back from the other dimension. "They're going to sleep well tonight," Anko remarked, watching as Minato chased a butterfly with the single-minded determination only a 5-year-old could muster. "All this excitement has them wired." Naruto nodded, his expression thoughtful as he placed the strange, crystalline object on a shelf, a memento from their years away. "It's a lot for them to take in." "Hell, it's a lot for me to take in." Anko moved to stand beside him, leaning her head against his shoulder. "Having second thoughts about coming back?" "No," he answered without hesitation. "This is where we belong. It's just, everything's changed. People I knew are gone. The village itself is different." He glanced at her. "Are you okay with being back? Your history here wasn't exactly sunshine and rainbows?" She finished with a wry smile. "No, but neither was yours, and look how they welcomed you home. The hero returns." There was no bitterness in her tone, only a hint of amusement. Naruto slipped an arm around her waist. "You're a hero too, you know. Putting up with me all these years." "Damn right," she smirked, turning to face him fully. "And don't you forget it, Uzumaki." Their moment was interrupted by a loud knock at the door. Naruto raised an eyebrow at Anko. "Popular already?" The door opened to reveal not one visitor but a crowd. Shikamaru, Choji, Ino, Kiba and Akamaru, Hinata, Shino, Lee, and Tenten, all standing on the doorstep with varying expressions of disbelief, joy, and curiosity. Naruto! Lee was the first to break the stunned silence, tears streaming down his face in a display of emotion that would have made his sensei, Might Guy, proud. Your flames of youth still burn brightly. Told you guys it was true. Kiba grinned, Akamaru barking in agreement beside him. The Nikin had grown even larger in the intervening years, now the size of a small horse. Troublesome. Shikamaru sighed, though the corner of his mouth quirked up. We couldn't just wait until tomorrow, apparently. Are you kidding? Pushed forward. Our friend comes back from the dead with a wife and kids, and you want us to wait? Not happening. Naruto stood frozen for a moment, overwhelmed by the sight of his friends, older now, bearing the scars and confident postures of veteran shinobi, but still unmistakably the comrades he had left behind. Guys, he managed, his voice thick with emotion. Whatever he was about to say was cut off as he was engulfed in a group hug, the Konoha 11, minus Sasuke and Neji, surrounding him in a tangle of arms and tearful laughter. Anko washed from the doorway, an unreadable expression on her face until Tenten broke away from the group and approached her. So, the weapons specialist said, her tone carefully neutral. You and Naruto, huh? Anko's posture shifted subtly into something more defensive. Got a problem with that, bunhead? Tenten's serious expression cracked into a grin. Are you kidding? It's the most interesting thing to happen in Konoha since Lee accidentally drank sake at the last Chunin exam after party. I want details. The tension in Anko's shoulders eased slightly, and she returned the grin with one of her own. Buy me dango sometime, and maybe I'll share a few. Inside, the reunion had moved to the living room, where the twins had emerged from the garden to stare wide-eyed at the colorful array of shinobi now filling their new home. The air hummed with excited voices and laughter, punctuated by exclamations of disbelief as Naruto recounted parts of his dimensional adventure. So these little monsters. Kiba crouched down, grinning at the twins who regarded him with matching suspicious stares. They're really the ones who brought you back? Hard to believe. Akamaru sniffed curiously at the boys, who shrank back momentarily before Minato, the bolder of the two, extended a tentative hand toward the massive Niken. Easy there, Kiba warned, but Akamaru merely gave the boy's hand a gentle lick, earning a delighted giggle. They have extraordinary chakra signatures. Shino observed quietly from behind his high collar. Why? Because they carry both their parents' chakra networks but with unique modifications, likely from developing in another dimension. Always the analyst, as Shino? Naruto laughed, ruffling Arashi's hair as the boy edged closer to his father, overwhelmed by the attention. Hinata knelt down, her gentle smile putting both boys more at ease than anyone else had managed. Hello, Arashi-kun, Minato-kun. I'm Hinata. I knew your father when we were very young. Did Tusan talk a lot back then too? Arashir asked with the devastating innocence of a child, causing everyone to burst into laughter. Some things never change. Shikamaru drawled, leaning against the wall with his arms crossed. Choji, who had already made himself comfortable on a cushion, opened another bag of chips. Remember when we used to skip Iruka-sensei's class together? You were always the one getting us caught, Naruto. Speaking of which, Ino chimed in, her sharp eyes gleaming with mischief. Have you seen Iruka-sensei yet? He's going to have a heart attack when he finds out you're back. Naruto's face softened. Not yet. I'm planning to see him tomorrow. Him and a few others. His gaze drifted to the window, where the stone faces of the Hokage monument were visible in the distance. A moment of solemn silence fell over the group, each remembering those who were no longer with them. It was Lee who broke it, leaping to his feet with characteristic exuberance. We should celebrate properly. A feast to welcome back our comrade and meet his youthful family. I'm always up for a feast. Choji grinned, patting his stomach. Barbecue? Ino suggested, already knowing the answer. No. Naruto shook his head, a slow smile spreading across his face. Ichiraku ramen. Some traditions are sacred, believe it. The twins perked up at the mention of ramen. Clearly their father's appreciation for the dish had been passed down. Ramen! Ramen! Minato chanted, bouncing on his toes. Anko, who had been engaged in conversation with Tenten, turned at her son's excited cries. You're suggesting taking two hyperactive 5-year-olds and this entire circus to a tiny ramen stand? She arched an eyebrow at Naruto. This ought to be good, trust me. Naruto grinned, slinging an arm around her shoulders. Tuchi-san's ramen can solve any problem. It's practically magic, it better be. Anko muttered, but there was no real resistance in her tone. The prospect of seeing her husband reunited with his beloved ramen shop was too entertaining to pass up. As they prepared to head out, Naruto pulled Shikamaru aside. Hey, before we go, what happened with Sasuke? Kakashi didn't want to get into it earlier. Shikamaru's expression grew serious. It's complicated, Naruto. After you disappeared, Sasuke changed. The curse mark, Orochimaru's influence. He left the village searching for power. There were confrontations, battles. He sighed, running a hand through his spiky ponytail. He's considered a rogue ninja now, aligned with a group called Taka. Last intel put him somewhere in the land of iron. But that was months ago. Naruto's jaw tightened, blue eyes darkening with determination. I'm going to find him, Shikamaru. Bring him back. I figured you'd say that. Shikamaru replied with a small, knowing smile. Some things really don't change. But Naruto, you've got a family now. Responsibilities. It's not as simple as running off on a mission. Naruto's gaze drifted to where Anko was helping the twins put on their sandals. Her movements efficient but gentle. I know, he said softly. But Sasuke is family too, in his own way. I made a promise once. Shikamaru clapped a hand on his shoulder. One problem at a time. For tonight, let's just celebrate your return. The rest can wait until tomorrow. The moon hung low over Konoha as the boisterous group made their way through streets that had been rebuilt after Pain's attack but still retained the familiar layout Naruto remembered. Civilians and shinobi alike stopped to stare as they passed, whispers following in their wake. Is that really him? The Jinchuriki. He's back. Look at those children. They have his face. Naruto, once the village pariah, now walked with his head high, returning greetings with a warm smile. The twins darted around the group, marveling at the strange new village with its towering buildings and carved mountain faces. Tusan, Tusan! Erashur tugged at Naruto's hand, pointing up at the Hokage monument. Is your face gonna be up there too someday? Naruto laughed, swooping his son up onto his shoulders. That's the plan. Just you wait. Naruto Uzumaki, 7th Hokage. It has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? 7th? Kiba frowned. Don't you mean 6th? Kakashi-sensei is the 6th. Oh, Naruto blinked, momentarily thrown off. Right, of course. Still getting used to that. In my head, Granny Tsunade was still Hokage. Lady Tsunade stepped down after the war. Sakura explained, having joined the group outside the Hokage Tower. She's focusing on medical research now, but still acts as an advisor. The conversation halted as they rounded a corner, and the familiar sight of Ichiraku Ramen came into view, larger than Naruto remembered, now a proper restaurant rather than a small stand, but with the same warm lights and enticing aroma wafting from beneath the Norin curtains. Naruto froze, emotion welling up in his throat. It's still here, he whispered. Did you think a little thing like the village being destroyed would keep Tuchi from making ramen? Sakura smiled, nudging him forward. Go on. With Erashur still perched on his shoulders and Minato clutching his hand, Naruto stepped through the curtain, the familiar greeting chime ringing out. Welcome to Akira. Tuchi's voice cut off abruptly as he looked up from the pot he was stirring, his eyes widening in shock. Beside him, Ayame dropped the bowl she was drying, porcelain shattering on the floor. And Naruto? Tuchi stammered, the ladle slipping from his fingers to splash back into the broth. Hey, old man. Naruto grinned, though his eyes glistened suspiciously. Got room for a few more customers? Tuchi vaulted over the counter with surprising agility for a man his age, engulfing Naruto in a bear hug that nearly dislodged Erashur from his perch. You stupid, wonderful boy, the ramen chef exclaimed, his voice thick with emotion. Where have you been? It's a long story. Naruto chuckled, returning the embrace with one arm while steadying his son with the other. But I'm back now. For good, and he's brought company. Ayame added, having recovered from her shock. She smiled at the twins, then raised an eyebrow at Anko. Well, well. Didn't see that coming. Anko's lips curved in a smirk. Life's full of surprises, noodle girl, the best kind. Tucci declared, wiping suspiciously at his eyes before straightening and surveying the large group now filling his restaurant. Well, don't just stand there. Sit, sit. Tonight, the first round is on the house. Cheers erupted as everyone scrambled for seats, the small restaurant suddenly alive with more energy than it had seen in years. Tucci and I moved into a familiar rhythm, preparing bowls with practiced efficiency as orders were called out from all directions. Naruto settled at the counter, lifting the twins onto stools flanking him, with Anko on Minato's other side. The aromas of rich broth, freshly cooked noodles, and savory toppings enveloped him like an old friend's embrace. 2 miso ramen with extra pork for the boys, he ordered, then grinned at Tucci. And you know my usual, coming right up. Tucci beamed, already assembling the ingredients. As the first steaming bowls were placed before them, Naruto watched his sons' faces with anticipation. Both boys inhaled deeply, eyes widening at the delicious scent. Go on, Naruto encouraged. Try the best ramen in all the elemental nations. The twins needed no further prompting. They broke their chopsticks in unison and plunged them into the bowls, slurping up noodles with enthusiastic abandon that mirrored their father's technique perfectly. It's amazing, Minato declared through a mouthful, broth dribbling down his chin. Better than 2 sands. Erasure agreed, earning a mock-wounded look from Naruto. Betrayed by my own sons. He lamented dramatically, then dug into his own bowl with gusto. Around them, their friends laughed and talked, the volume rising as more sake was poured for the adults. Stories were shared, adventures from Naruto's absence, tales from the other dimension, reminiscences of their academy days. For a few precious hours, the weight of all they had lost and all that threatened them still was set aside, replaced by the simple joy of reunion. Late into the night, as the gathering finally began to disperse, Tucci pulled Naruto aside, his weathered face serious. I saved something for you, the ramen chef said, reaching beneath the counter to retrieve a small, worn box. Every year, on the anniversary of your disappearance, we would hold a little memorial here. Everyone would come, and they'd each write a note, things they wished they could tell you. He pressed the box into Naruto's hands. I think you should have these. Naruto stared down at the box, feeling its weight, not just physical, but emotional. Thank you, he whispered, clutching it close. Outside, beneath a canopy of stars, Naruto carried a sleeping Minato while Anko held Erasure, both boys exhausted from the evening's excitement. Their friends bid them good night with promises to meet again soon, until only Sakura remained, falling into step beside them. You know, she said softly, watching Naruto with his son. I always knew you'd come back. Even when others gave up hope, I just knew. Naruto glanced at her, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. I'm glad someone had faith in me. We all did in our own ways, Sakura replied. But there's something you should know. She hesitated, her expression troubled. About Sasuke, Naruto's steps slowed. Shikamaru mentioned he's gone rogue. It's more than that. Sakura's voice dropped lower. He's changed, Naruto. The Sasuke we knew, I'm not sure he exists anymore. I don't believe that. Naruto's response was immediate, firm. People can always find their way back. Look at me. I fell through a dimensional portal and still made it home. Anko snorted softly beside him. Your optimism is either your greatest strength or your greatest weakness, Naruto-kun. I haven't decided which yet, maybe both. Sakura conceded with a small smile. She stopped as they reached the intersection where their paths would diverge. Just be careful. The world's not the same as when you left it, neither am I, Naruto replied, shifting Minato's weight in his arms as the boy stirred slightly in his sleep. But some things don't change, Sakura-chan. My ninja way, that's still the same. I don't go back on my word. As Sakura watched the small family continue down the moonlit street toward their new home, she couldn't help but wonder which would prove stronger, Naruto's unbreakable will, or the harsh realities of the world he had returned to. One thing was certain. Konoha would never be the same now that Naruto Uzumaki had returned, and somewhere in the shadows of the village, Hidden eyes watched, and word of the Jinchuriki's return began its journey to ears that had long awaited such news. Dawn painted Konoha in hues of gold and amber, lights spilling across rooftops still glistening with morning dew. In the Sarutobi district, Naruto sat cross-legged on the small porch of his new home, eyes closed in meditation, his chakra a steady pulse that rippled outward like waves on a still pond. 6 years in another dimension had changed more than just his appearance. Gone was the hyperactive boy who couldn't sit still for 5 minutes. In his place sat a man who had learned the value of stillness, of listening to the world around him and the power within. Kurama. He called silently to the entity sealed within him. "I'm here, kid," came the rumbling reply, the Nine-Tails voice resonating through his mindscape. "Still adjusting to being back? It's strange," Naruto admitted. "Everything's familiar but different. Like looking at a reflection in running water. Humans change quickly," Kurama observed. "Your precious village has moved on without you. Did you expect otherwise?" "No," Naruto sighed. "But it doesn't make it any easier." The slight creak of a floorboard alerted him to Anko's presence a moment before her hands came to rest on his shoulders, thumbs working into the tense muscles at the base of his neck. "Talking to your tenant?" she asked, a hint of amusement in her voice. She was one of the few who knew the full extent of Naruto's relationship with the Nine-Tails, how their years in the other dimension had transformed hostility into reluctant respect, and finally into partnership. Naruto confirmed, leaning back into her touch. "He's grumpy about being back. Says the air here smells of human interference," Anko snorted. "Well, he's not wrong. But I didn't marry you for your choice in roommates." She pressed a kiss to the top of his head before settling beside him, their shoulders touching. "The boys are still asleep. Last night wore them out. Meeting that many people at once would exhaust anyone." Naruto chuckled, opening his eyes to drink in the sight of the village awakening before them. "They handled it well, though. They're adaptable." Anko agreed, pride warming her voice. Like their father, Naruto turned to study his wife's profile, the early light softening her features. Few in Konoha would ever associate the words soft or gentle with Anko Mitarashi, but Naruto knew better. Behind the fierce exterior and sadistic grin lay a woman of profound loyalty and surprising tenderness, at least with those she considered hers. "Any regrets?" he asked quietly. "About coming back?" Anko considered the question, her eyes tracking a hawk circling overhead. "Ask me again in a week," she replied finally. "After we've dealt with all the inevitable interrogations, suspicious looks, and awkward reunions." "Fair enough," Naruto conceded with a wry smile. "Speaking of which, we're supposed to meet with Ibiki this afternoon." Formal debrief. Anko's expression hardened momentarily at the mention of her former superior in the torture and interrogation force. "Ibiki hasn't changed, I bet. Still wearing that ridiculous coat and intimidating Genin for fun, probably." Naruto laughed, then sobered. "Before that, though, there's somewhere I need to go. Something I need to do." Anko nodded, understanding in her eyes. "The memorial stone." "Yeah." Naruto's voice grew quiet. "I need to pay my respects to Niji and the others. Want company?" "Thanks, but this is something I should do alone," he replied, squeezing her hand. "Can you watch the boys?" "No, I thought I'd let our 5-year-olds run wild through a shinobi village they don't know." Anko rolled her eyes. "Of course I'll watch them. Take your time." Naruto leaned over to press a kiss to her lips, lingering for a moment. "Have I told you lately that I love you?" "Not since last night." She smirked against his mouth. "But I suppose I can forgive you." A small voice piped up from the doorway, interrupting their moment. "You, Chu-san is kissing Ka-san again." They turned to find Erasure watching them with an exaggerated grimace of disgust, his blonde hair sticking up in all directions and his pajamas rumpled from sleep. "That's right." Naruto grinned, lunging forward to scoop his son into his arms. "And do you know what happens to little boys who spy on their parents?" He began tickling Erasure mercilessly, the boy's shrieks of laughter filling the morning air. "No fair!" "Ka-san, help!" Erasure gasped between giggles, squirming in his father's grip. "You're on your own, Squirt." Anko chuckled, rising to her feet. I'm going to start breakfast before your brother wakes up and starts complaining about starvation. As Anko disappeared inside, Naruto released his son from the tickle assault, settling him on his lap instead. Erasure, still catching his breath, leaned back against his father's chest, his small face turning serious. "Two-sen, are we really going to stay here forever now?" Naruto considered the question, giving it the weight it deserved. "That's the plan. This is our home now. Is that okay with you?" Arashi's brow furrowed in thought. "I like the people here. They're nice. But they look at us funny sometimes. That's because they're surprised," Naruto explained, ruffling his son's hair. "They thought I was gone forever, and now I'm back with you and Minato and your mom. It's a lot for them to get used to, like how we had to get used to the big trees and the faces in the mountain? Exactly like that." Naruto nodded, smiling at his son's perceptiveness. Change takes time. Erasure seemed satisfied with this answer. But then another thought occurred to him. "Two-san, that pink-haired lady, Sakura? She said you used to be on a team with someone named Sasuke. Are we going to meet him too?" Naruto's expression flickered with something complicated. Hope, determination, and worry all mingled together. "Someday," he said finally. "Sasuke is away right now. But he'll come back too. Just like we did. Promise?" "I promise," Naruto said, the words carrying the weight of his nindo behind them. "Now go help your mom with breakfast. I need to go out for a little while, but I'll be back soon." After breakfast and helping the twins get dressed for the day, Naruto set out toward the memorial stone, his pace unhurried as he reacquainted himself with the village. Civilians and shinobi alike reacted to his passage with double takes and whispers, some calling out greetings while others merely stared in disbelief. The training grounds where the memorial stone stood had changed little, the clearing still ringed by tall trees that rustled softly in the morning breeze. Naruto approached the polished stone with measured steps, his eyes scanning the rows of names engraved upon its surface. So many new names. Too many. His fingers traced over Niji Hyuga's name, the characters cold beneath his touch. "I'm sorry I wasn't here," he whispered. "You deserve better, Niji. We all deserve better." A voice spoke from behind him. "But fate rarely concerns itself with what we deserve." Naruto turned to find Hishi Hyuga standing at the edge of the clearing, his austere features more lined than Naruto remembered, grief having carved its permanent mark. "Hishi-sama." Naruto bowed respectfully, surprising the Hyuga clan head with the formal gesture. Another change from the brash boy he had once been. "Uzumaki Naruto." Hishi acknowledged, approaching to stand beside him at the stone. "Hinata told me of your return. It is unexpected, seems to be the general reaction." Naruto replied with a small smile that faded as his gaze returned to Niji's name. "I heard he died a hero." "He did," Hishi confirmed, his voice steady despite the pain evident in his eyes. "He gave his life protecting Hinata during the war. And her protecting you, or rather, a shinobi she believed was fighting in your stead." Naruto's head snapped up. "What?" Hishi's expression remained impassive, but something flickered in his pale eyes. "You did not know? A shinobi fought in the war using your name and abilities. A young man named Menma who bore a striking resemblance to you. He claimed to be Naruto Uzumaki, and few questioned it, given how you had disappeared years before and he possessed similar chakra and techniques." "Menma," Naruto repeated, the name stirring something in his memory. A flicker of another world, another possibility. "And everyone believed him?" "Not everyone," Hishi admitted. "Kakashi was suspicious, as was Jiraiya, before his death. But in war, one does not always have the luxury of verification. He fought well and served Konoha faithfully. After the war, he disappeared, much as you had." Naruto struggled to process this revelation. Someone had been living his life, fighting his battles, while he had been trapped in another dimension. It was disorienting, like looking into a distorted mirror. "I would have come back sooner if I could," he said finally, a note of defensiveness creeping into his voice. "I didn't choose to leave. No one has accused you of abandonment, Uzumaki," Hishi said, his tones softening slightly. "Fate moves in mysterious patterns. Perhaps your absence, and this Menma's presence, were necessary for events to unfold as they did. Maybe." Naruto conceded, though he didn't sound convinced. But I'm back now. And I'll honor Niji's sacrifice by protecting what he gave his life for. Hayashi studied him for a long moment, his Byakugan-capable eyes seeing more than most. You have changed, Uzumaki Naruto. There is a steadiness to you now, a weight that speaks of responsibility accepted and hardship endured. Fatherhood will do that to you. Naruto smiled faintly. Indeed, Hayashi agreed, the ghost of a smile passing over his own stern features. My daughter speaks highly of your sons. She says they have your spirit. Poor kids. Naruto chuckled, then grew serious again. Hayashi-sama, about Hinata. I never got the chance to. The Hyuga clan had raised a hand, stopping him. Whatever passed between you and my daughter is for her to resolve, not me. Hinata has grown into a strong kunoichi and a wise woman in your absence. She will find her own path to peace with your return. Naruto nodded, respecting the older man's wisdom. However, Hayashi continued, his tone cooler. I find myself curious about your unusual choice of partner, Anko. Naruto's lips curved into a fond smile despite the implicit disapproval in Hayashi's voice. She saved me as much as I saved her in that other world. We built something together that neither of us expected. She has a reputation, Hayashi said delicately. Had, Naruto corrected, a protective edge entering his voice. People change, Hayashi-sama. I'm sure I don't need to tell you that. The Hyuga inclined his head, acknowledging the point. Fair enough. And your children? I understand they possess unique abilities. Naruto's posture stiffened slightly. The twins' capabilities were something he and Anko had agreed to keep relatively private, at least until they'd better understood the political landscape they had returned to. They're talented, he said carefully. And they'll have the childhood I didn't, accepted for who they are, not feared for what they might contain. Hayashi's eyes widened fractionally at the steel in Naruto's voice, so different from the desperate need for acknowledgement that had once defined the boy. On that we are in agreement, the Hyuga said finally. Children are the future of our village, all of them. He turned as if to leave, then paused. The Hyuga clan will host a formal dinner next week to welcome you and your family back to Konoha. Your presence would honor us. The invitation, coming from the notoriously insular Hyuga clan, spoke volumes about Naruto's changed status in the village. We would be honored to attend, he replied with a slight bow. After Hayashi departed, Naruto remained at the memorial stone a while longer, paying his respects to other fallen comrades, Asuma Sarutobi, Inoichi Yamanaka, Shikaka Nara, and too many others whose names he recognized. When he finally turned to leave, a familiar figure was waiting at the edge of the clearing, silver hair defying gravity, masked face buried in an orange book. Thought I might find you here, Kakashi said, closing his book with a snap. Old habits die hard, even for Hokages. Some traditions are worth keeping, Naruto replied, glancing back at the stone. You know, I used to wonder why you spent so much time here. I think I understand better now. Kakashi's visible eye crinkled in what might have been a smile, though there was sadness in it. It's easier to appreciate the living when you remember the dead. He fell into step beside Naruto as they began walking back toward the village. How are you settling in? It's strange, Naruto admitted. Like coming home to find someone's rearranged all the furniture. It's still home, but everything's just a little off. Give it time, Kakashi advised. The village has changed, but so have you. You'll find your place again. They walked in companionable silence for a moment before Naruto spoke again. Hayashi Hyuga told me something interesting. About someone named Menma who fought in the war using my name. Kakashi's pace hitched almost imperceptibly. Ah, I wondered when that would come up. So it's true? Someone was, what, impersonating me? Kakashi sighed, his shoulders slumping slightly. It's complicated. He appeared during the early stages of the war, a young man with blonde hair, blue eyes, and techniques remarkably similar to yours. He claimed to be you, said you'd been training in secret all those years, and you believed him? Naruto couldn't keep the hurt from his voice. Not entirely, Kakashi replied carefully. But we were at war, Naruto. The Shinobi Alliance needed symbols of hope, and suddenly there you were, or someone very like you, fighting with unbelievable power. It rallied our forces. What happened to him after the war? He disappeared during the final battle. Some say he died, others that he simply vanished when his purpose was fulfilled. Kakashi's eye slid to Naruto. There were theories that he might have been a manifestation of the Nine Tails chakra that had somehow gained independence. Or perhaps an alternate version of you from another reality. Naruto's steps faltered. Another reality, he murmured, something clicking into place. There was a moment, in that other dimension, when Kurama and I were trying to find a way back. We sensed something, like an echo of myself, fighting a massive battle. We thought it was just dimensional resonance. Perhaps it was more than that. Kakashi mused. The boundaries between realities may be thinner than we know. They had reached the administrative district of the village, the Hokage Tower looming ahead. Kakashi paused, turning to face his former student. Whatever the truth about Menma, you're here now, the real Naruto Uzumaki. And there are decisions to be made about your future in the village. My future? Naruto's brow furrowed. Technically, you're still a genin. Kakashi pointed out, a hint of mischief entering his voice. The only member of your academy class who never advanced in rank. You've got to be kidding me. Naruto groaned, dragging a hand down his face. I'm 22 years old, married with kids, and I've got to take the Chunin exams again? Well, Kakashi drawled, clearly enjoying Naruto's dismay. There are alternatives. Battlefield promotions are possible, but you need to demonstrate your capabilities to a panel of jonin. Fine. Naruto sighed dramatically. Set it up. But I'm not wearing those stupid goggles again. Wouldn't dream of suggesting it. Kakashi's eye crinkled again. By the way, I've assigned you a mission for tomorrow. A mission? Already? What happened to settling in? Consider it a welcome back gift. Kakashi said airily. Nothing too strenuous. Just escorting a certain academy class on a field trip. I believe they're studying the history of Konoha's notable shinobi. Naruto's eyes narrowed suspiciously. Why do I feel like you're setting me up? Would I do that? Kakashi asked, the picture of innocence. Report to the academy at 8 tomorrow morning. Oh, and Naruto? He paused, his tone shifting to something more serious. It's good to have you back. The real you, and somewhere out there, beyond these walls, Sasuke Uchiha still wandered in darkness. A promise still unfulfilled. One step at a time. Naruto murmured to himself, turning toward home where his family waited. One step at a time. Konoha's academy hadn't changed much despite the village's reconstruction. The same worn wooden floors, the same scuffed desks arranged in tiers, the same scent of chalk dust and scrolls that triggered a flood of memories for Naruto as he slid open the classroom door. 30 pairs of eyes swiveled toward him, ranging from bored to curious to downright suspicious. At the front of the room, Irika Yumino froze mid-sentence, the piece of chalk in his hand snapping in half. Sorry I'm late. Naruto grinned, scratching the back of his head in a gesture straight from his youth. Got lost on the path of life. Irika's mouth opened and closed several times without producing sound, his scars stretching as his eyes widened to almost comical proportions. And Naruto? He finally managed, his voice barely above a whisper. In the flesh. Naruto confirmed, stepping fully into the room and closing the door behind him. Kakashi-sensei, sorry Lord Hokage, said something about a field trip? The stunned silence shattered as Irika crossed the room in 3 quick strides and engulfed Naruto in a crushing hug. Propriety and classroom decorum forgotten. You impossible, wonderful, exasperating. He choked out, his voice thick with emotion. Naruto returned the embrace, his own throat tight. Of all the reunions since his return, this one meant the most. Irika had been the first person to truly see him, not as the demon fox, not as a troublemaker, but as Naruto. Just Naruto. I thought you were dead. Irika muttered, finally pulling back to study Naruto's face, his hands gripping his former student's shoulders as if afraid he might vanish again. All these years. It's a long story. Naruto replied with a sheepish smile. Involving dimensional portals, strange worlds, and... He glanced at the classroom full of wide-eyed students now watching them with undisguised fascination. Probably not something we should get into right now. Irika seemed to suddenly remember where they were. clearing his throat and hastily wiping moisture from his eyes. He turned back to the class, struggling to regain his composure. Class, change of plans? Today we have a very special guest. His voice still wavered with emotion. This is Naruto Uzumaki, a former student of mine and a hero of Konoha. A cacophony of whispers erupted among the students. The Naruto Uzumaki? I thought he was just a legend. My dad said he had 9 lives like a cat. Look at those whiskers. Is he part animal? Naruto grinned, the familiar sensation of being the center of attention bringing back memories of his own academy days. Though back then, the whispers had been far less admiring. All right, settle down. Iruka called, his teacher voice cutting through the chatter. As I was saying, we'll be taking our field trip to the Hokage Monument today, and Naruto has kindly agreed to accompany us. He shot Naruto a look that clearly said, this is news to me too. That's right. Naruto stepped forward, his confidence easy and natural as he addressed the children. And I'm told you're studying the history of Konoha's notable shinobi, which is perfect because... He flashed his signature grin. Someday I'm going to be up on that mountain too. A small hand shot up from the middle row. But if you disappeared for years, how can you become Hokage? Asked a girl with spiky black hair and sharp eyes. Ami! Iruka admonished, but Naruto waved him off. It's a fair question. He acknowledged. The path to becoming Hokage isn't always straight. Sometimes there are unexpected detours. He winked at the girl. But I've never given up on my dream, even when I was in another dimension. That's my ninja way. The skepticism on the girl's face faded slightly, replaced by reluctant curiosity. No. Naruto clapped his hands together. How about that field trip? I bet I can get us all to the monument in record time. 30 minutes later, Naruto stood atop the Hokage monument with Iruka and his class, the wind ruffling their hair as they gazed out over the sprawling vista of Konoha. The morning sun glinted off windows and turned the Hokage tower into a gleaming pillar at the heart of the village. This is my favorite view in the whole world, Naruto told the students, who had gathered around him like metal filings to a magnet. You can see everything from up here. The Higa compound over there, the marketplace, the training grounds, Ichiraku Ramen. Did you really paint graffiti on the faces? Blurted a boy with glasses too big for his face. Naruto threw back his head and laughed. I sure did. Took the ANBU most of the day to catch me, too, Naruto. Iruka sighed, though there was fondness in his exasperation. Don't encourage them. What? Naruto's eyes widened innocently. It's history now, right? Besides, look how clean they are today. No harm done. As Iruka began his lecture on the first Hokage, Naruto found his attention wandering, his gaze drifting beyond the village walls to the vast forest that surrounded Konoha. Somewhere out there lay the answers to questions that had plagued him since his return. The mysterious Menma who had fought in his place. Sasuke's current whereabouts. The Akatsuki's next move. He was so lost in thought that he almost missed the small tug on his sleeve. He looked down to find a tiny girl with brown pigtails staring up at him with solemn eyes. Is it true you have a monster inside you? She whispered, her voice so soft it was nearly carried away by the breeze. Naruto blinked, surprised by the direct question. He crouched down to her level, his expression gentle. Not a monster, he corrected quietly. A partner. His name is Kurama, and he's helped me save people I care about. The girl tilted her head, considering this. My mommy says you disappeared because the monster was eating you from the inside. Well, Naruto replied, keeping his tone light despite the pang the words caused. Mommies don't always know everything, do they? Sometimes even grown-ups believe stories that aren't true. Kasumi. A woman's shrill voice cut through the air. One of the parents who had accompanied the field trip rushed forward, her face pale with horror as she yanked the little girl away from Naruto. What have I told you about talking to? Her eyes darted nervously to Naruto, fear and old prejudice warring with the new reality of his heroic status. Naruto rose slowly to his full height, his blue eyes steady as they met the woman's. It's all right, he said with quiet dignity. Kasumi was just asking me a question. Kids are curious. It's how they learn. The woman clutched her daughter closer, nodding jerkily before retreating to the edge of the group. Iruka, who had paused his lecture at the disturbance, caught Naruto's eye with a look of apology and understanding. As I was saying, Iruka continued smoothly. The fourth Hokage sacrificed his life to save the village during the Nine-Tails attack. His legacy lives on in the shinobi who continue to protect Konoha today. Naruto's gaze drifted to the stone face of Minato Namikaze, his father, carved into the mountain beneath their feet. Your legacy lives on in more ways than they know, Dad, he thought. Not just in me anymore, but in your grandsons too. The rest of the field trip passed without incident, though Naruto noticed some parents keeping their children at a distance, while others nudged theirs forward with encouraging smiles. Old fears died hard, but things had undeniably changed from his childhood. As the class made their way back to the academy, Iruka fell into step beside Naruto, their pace unhurried to allow the excited children to range ahead under the watchful eyes of the other chaperones. Some things never change, Iruka observed with a rueful smile, nodding toward the wary parents. But many things have. You should have seen how they reacted when news came that Naruto Uzumaki was fighting in the war. Suddenly, everyone had always believed in you. People are complicated. Naruto shrugged, his expression philosophical rather than bitter. We all want to be on the right side of history. Iruka shot him a sidelong glance. You've grown up, Naruto. And I don't just mean physically. Had to happen eventually. Naruto grinned, then sobered. Being a parent changes you. Makes you see the world differently, so I've heard. Iruka nodded. Speaking of which, when do I get to meet these sons of yours? And Anko, still having trouble wrapping my head around that one. Why does everyone say that? Naruto laughed. And soon. Maybe dinner this week? Fair warning though, the twins can be a handful. I taught you, didn't I? Iruka retorted with a smile. I think I can handle it. They had reached the academy gates where parents were collecting their children. Naruto watched the reunions with a soft expression, remembering all too well how it felt to be the only child with no one waiting. I should get home, he said, his thoughts turning to his own sons. Enko's taking the twins to the market today, and I promised to make dinner. You cook now too? Iruka shook his head in disbelief. The world really has turned upside down. Only a few things, Naruto admitted with a sheepish grin. Ramen, obviously. And I make a pretty decent grilled fish. As they said their goodbyes, a falcon circled overhead, descending in a graceful spiral before landing on Naruto's outstretched arm. The bird carried a small scroll tied to its leg with the Hokage's seal. Duty calls. Naruto sighed, unfurling the message. His expression darkened as he read. I need to go. Kakashi wants to see me. Now, go. Iruka nodded, concern evident in his eyes. And Naruto? Whatever it is, be careful. Naruto flashed him a confident smile. Always am, Iruka-sensei. And with that, he was gone in a swirl of leaves, the technique executed with a precision that would have made his father proud. The Hokage's office was crowded when Naruto arrived. Kakashi sat behind his desk, his usual languid posture replaced by a tense alertness. Beside him stood Shikamaru, a scroll unfurled between his hands, his expression grim. Tsunade leaned against the window, ember eyes sharp as they fixed on Naruto. Several ANDU guards stood at attention along the walls. What's going on? Naruto asked, the hair on the back of his neck standing up at the tension in the room. We've received intelligence, Kakashi said without preamble. The Akatsuki are on the move. They know you're back. A chill crawled down Naruto's spine. How soon? Intel suggests they've dispatched a team already. Shikamaru answered, rolling up the scroll with a snap. Haiden and Kakuzu, most likely. They were last spotted in the land of rivers 3 days ago, which gives us a narrow window to prepare. Tsunade added, pushing away from the window to approach Naruto. Her gaze was assessing, professional. How bad already are you, brat? And don't oversell it. This isn't the time for bravado. Naruto straightened, meeting her stare for stare. I can hold my own, Granny Tsunade. The other dimension, it wasn't exactly peaceful. I had to adapt, learn, grow stronger just to survive. And Kurama and I, we're partners now, not prisoner and jailer. Show me. she challenged, cracking her knuckles with a familiar sound that sent nostalgic shivers through everyone in the room. What, here? Naruto blinked, glancing around the office. Training ground 44. Kakashi interjected smoothly. The forest of death. Seems fitting, doesn't it? Where you disappeared is where we'll assess your return. The symmetry wasn't lost on Naruto. He nodded, a determined glint entering his eyes. When? No. Tsunade declared, already striding toward the door. No time like the present. As they prepared to depart, Naruto caught Kakashi's sleeve. My family, he said quietly. If the Akatsuki are coming, already handled, Kakashi assured him. I've assigned an A and B detail to Shadow, Anko, and the twins. Discreetly, he added, seeing Naruto's frown. Your wife wouldn't appreciate obvious babysitters, I imagine. You have no idea. Naruto muttered, relief softening his features nonetheless. Thank you. An hour later, Naruto stood in a clearing within the forest of death, stripped down to his mesh armor and pants, sweat glistening on his skin despite the cool shade beneath the massive trees. Across from him, Tsunade brushed dirt from her hands, looking irritatingly unruffled despite the small crater her last punch had created. Not bad, she conceded, eyeing the ragged remains of the clearing. Trees had been toppled, the earth churned up, and several new water features had appeared where jutsu had reshaped the landscape. You've definitely improved your chakra control. And that new Rasengan variant is impressive. Naruto grinned through his exhaustion, wiping blood from a split lip where one of Tsunade's lightning-fast jabs had connected. Told you I wasn't slacking off in that other dimension. From the edge of the clearing, Shikamaru let out a low whistle. Troublesome as ever, he remarked, though there was admiration in his tone. If anything, he's gotten more unpredictable. That's always been his greatest strength. Kakashi observed, his visible eye crinkling with pride. The ability to surprise even those who think they know what he's capable of. Tsunade crossed the clearing to where Naruto had slumped against a fallen tree, offering him a hand up. As he took it, she yanked him forward, her other hand glowing green as she pressed it to his chest. Hey! Naruto protested. What are you? Shut up and let me examine you. She growled, her medical chakra probing his system. Your chakra network has undergone significant changes. The pathways are different. Expanded in some areas, rerouted in others. Her brow furrowed in concentration. And the Nine-Tails chakra is integrated with yours in a way I've never seen before. Told you. Naruto repeated, submitting to her examination with minimal squirming. Kurama and I worked it out. Had to survive there. Kurama? Kakashi inquired, coming closer. The Nine-Tails name. Naruto explained. He's not just a mass of chakra, you know. He's got a name, a personality, mostly grumpy, but he has his moments, and a history that goes back to the Sage of Six Paths. Tsunade released him, stepping back with a thoughtful expression. The seal, it's changed too. Not broken, but evolved somehow. It's my father's work, Naruto said simply. It was designed to adapt, to eventually allow me to master the fox's power fully. Being in that other dimension just accelerated the process. A sharp cry from above interrupted their conversation. Another messenger falcon descended, this one bearing a bright red tag that signified urgent news. Kakashi retrieved the message, his expression growing grim as he read. Change of plans, he announced, his voice cutting through the clearing. Our intelligence was wrong. It's not Haiden and Kakuza heading this way. He looked up, his gaze locking with Naruto's. It's Pain. The leader of the Akatsuki himself is coming for you, Naruto. And he's bringing company. Silence fell over the clearing, broken only by the distant calls of the forest of death's inhabitants, and the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze. How long do we have? Shikamaru asked, his mind already racing through strategies and contingencies. 3 days. Maybe 4, Kakashi replied. Not enough time to evacuate the village, but enough to prepare our defenses. And my family? Naruto's voice was quiet but intense, fear for Anko and the twins evident in the tightness around his eyes. We need to move them to a secure location, Tsunade decided. Somewhere the Akatsuki wouldn't think to look. She frowned thoughtfully. The old Uzumaki mask shrine, perhaps. It's protected by ancient seals, and with a few modifications. No. Naruto shook his head firmly. I'm not separating from them. Where I go, they go. And I'm not hiding while pain threatens my home. Don't be stubborn, brat. Tsunade snapped. This isn't about your pride. It's about protecting what matters most. If pain captures you, the Nine Tails falls into Akatsuki hands, and if I run, he'll destroy Konoha looking for me. Naruto countered, rising to his full height. The fatigue from their sparring session seemed to have vanished, replaced by a steely resolve. I've seen what he can do, through Kurama's memories, through the stories I've heard since coming back. Pain leveled this village once before. I won't let that happen again. Then what do you suggest? Kakashi asked, his tone level, though the tension in his posture betrayed his concern. Naruto's blue eyes gleamed with determination, his father's legacy shining through in the set of his jaw and the steadiness of his gaze. We take the fight to him. Before he reaches Konoha, that's suicide. Shikamaru objected, though he was already calculating the possibilities. Pain doesn't travel alone. He has the other paths, plus whatever Akatsuki members are with him. I didn't say I'd go alone. Naruto replied, a ghost of his old fox-like grin appearing. Konoha's strength has never been in its individual shinobi, powerful as they are. It's in how we work together. He turned to Kakashi. Let me assemble a team. The best we have. We'll intercept Pain before he gets anywhere near the village. Kakashi exchanged a long look with Tsunade, silent communication passing between the current and former Hokage. Finally, he nodded. You have 2 days to prepare. Choose your team wisely. I will. Naruto promised, his mind already sorting through possibilities. But first, I need to talk to my wife. If we're going to war, Anko deserves to know. And the twins? Tsunade asked gently. What about them? Naruto's expression softened at the mention of his sons, vulnerability momentarily replacing the warrior's resolve. They stay here, protected. Anko will understand. She's a Konoha shinobi too. As they prepared to leave the forest, Naruto paused at the edge of the clearing, his gaze drawn to a spot among the trees, the very place where, 6 years ago, he had vanished from this world. The cosmic irony wasn't lost on him. Barely a week after his return, fate was already conspiring to tear him away again, this time perhaps permanently. Not this time. He murmured, determination hardening his features. This time, I choose my own destiny. Unknown to the leaf shinobi, high in the canopy above, a small white creature observed their departure. Its body appeared to be made of clay, its single eye recording everything it had witnessed. With a flutter of crude wings, it took to the air, carrying valuable intelligence back to its creator. Miles away, a man with long blonde hair tied in a half ponytail smiled as he received the information through his creation's eye. Well, well, Deidara chuckled, the mouths in his palms grinning grotesquely. The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki has indeed returned, And it seems he's brought a family with him. He turned to his companion, a tall figure shrouded in an Akatsuki cloak. This will make our art all the more explosive, don't you think, Sasori, my man? The hunched figure beside him said nothing, but the gleam in his eyes spoke of deadly anticipation. The pieces were moving, the board said. The game that had begun 6 years ago with Naruto's disappearance was entering its final phase, and the stakes had never been higher. The evening breeze carried the scent of approaching rain as Naruto made his way home, his mind heavy with the weight of Kakashi's news. Pain was coming, the very embodiment of the tragedy that had shaped the shinobi world for generations. Not just for Naruto, but for everything and everyone he held dear. The small house in the Sarutobi district glowed with warm light, a beacon in the gathering dusk. Through the window, Naruto could see Anko in the kitchen, her purple hair tied back as she moved with casual grace, preparing dinner. The twins sat at the low table nearby, heads bent together over paper and crayons, their small faces screwed up in identical expressions of intense concentration. For a moment, Naruto simply stood there, drinking in the sight of his family, a miracle he never could have imagined in his lonely childhood. The thought of anything happening to them made his chest constrict with an almost physical pain. Are you planning to lurk out there all night? Anko's voice called from inside, though she hadn't turned around. Some instincts never faded, even in domestic settings. Naruto smiled despite himself and slid open the door, warmth and the rich aroma of home cooking enveloping him. I wasn't lurking, he protested mildly. I was appreciating the view. Too-san. The twins abandoned their artwork in a flurry of excitement, racing across the room to collide with his legs. Whoa there! Naruto laughed, crouching to catch them in a hug. What have you two been up to today? We went to the market. Minato exclaimed, bouncing on the balls of his feet. And saw a lady with a pig. That was Shizen-san. Anko clarified from the kitchen. Lady Tsunade's assistant. Taunton made quite an impression, and we found a park with swings. Erasure added, tugging at Naruto's sleeve. But some kids looked at us funny when we tried to play. A shadow passed over Naruto's face, quickly concealed. Some things in Konoha hadn't changed as much as he'd hoped. Maybe they were just shy, he suggested, ruffling Arashi's hair. Sometimes it takes time to make new friends. That's what Ka-san said. Minato nodded sagely. And then she made a scary face at their parents, and they went away. Naruto shot Anko an amused look. Scary face, huh? She shrugged unapologetically, wiping her hands on a towel. Very effective parenting tool. You should try it sometime. I'll leave the intimidation tactics to you. He chuckled, rising to his feet. You're better at it. The twins returned to their drawing, giving Naruto a moment to approach Anko. He slipped his arms around her waist from behind, pressing a kiss to the junction of her neck and shoulder. She leaned back into him briefly before turning in his embrace, her sharp eyes immediately noting the tension he was trying to hide. What happened? She asked quietly, keeping her voice low enough that the boys wouldn't hear. After dinner, he murmured. Once they're in bed, she studied his face for a moment longer, then nodded, accepting the delay but not dismissing the obvious gravity of whatever news he carried. Set the table then, she said, normal volume restored. Food's almost ready. Dinner was a lively affair, the twins regaling Naruto with detailed accounts of their day's adventures, complete with dramatic reenactments and occasional corrections from Anko. Naruto did his best to be present, to laugh at the right moments and ask the right questions, but his mind kept circling back to pain, to the Akatsuki, to the looming threat that cast its shadow over this fragile happiness. After the boys were tucked in for the night, a process that involved 2 bedtime stories, a thorough check for monsters under the bed, a universal constant across dimensions, it seemed, and promises of a trip to the training grounds tomorrow, Naruto and Anko retreated to the small garden behind the house. The first drops of rain had begun to fall, tapping gently against the leaves of the maple tree that dominated the space. Anko leaned against the trunk, arms crossed, waiting. The Akatsuki know I'm back, Naruto said without preamble, his voice barely audible above the pattering rain. Pain himself is coming, and he'll be here within days. Anko's face remained impassive, but her body tensed, the shinobi beneath the mother and wife instantly alert. How many with him? We're not sure yet. Intelligence suggests he's bringing at least 2 other Akatsuki members, plus his 6 pads. 9 against how many of us? She calculated aloud, her mind already shifting to battle strategy. That's the thing. Naruto sighed, running a hand through his damp hair. Kakashi's authorized a preemptive strike. A small team to intercept Pain before he reaches Konoha. I'm assembling the squad. Anko's eyes narrowed. And naturally, you'll be leading it. I have to, Anko. Pain's coming for me, for Kurama. If I stay here, he'll tear the village apart looking for me. Naruto moved closer, taking her hands in his. I can't let that happen. Not to our home. Not to the boys. Rain trickled down Anko's face, mingling with what might have been tears if she were any other woman. And what about me? Am I supposed to sit here knitting while you go face the leader of the Akatsuki? A smile tugged at the corner of Naruto's mouth. Can you even knit? Not the point, Uzumaki. She growled, though some of the tension left her shoulders. I want you on the team, he said simply. No one knows my fighting style better than you. No one watches my blind spots like you do. Surprise flickered across her face. And the twins? They stay here, protected. Irika's already agreed to look after them. And Kakashi's assigning an A and B detail. Enko was silent for a long moment, the rain intensifying around them until they both stood soaked, either making a move to seek shelter. Finally, she spoke. You know what pain is capable of. You've heard the stories. He destroyed Konoha once already. I know. Naruto nodded, his expression solemn. But he wasn't facing me then. And I wasn't fighting for a family, always so confident. She murmured, but there was fondness beneath the exasperation. So who else is on this suicide squad of yours? Sakura for medical support. Shikamaru for strategy. Hinata for reconnaissance. Kiba and Akamaru for tracking. And I'm hoping to convince Kakashi to let us borrow Captain Yamato. His Mokuton could be crucial against Pain's abilities. Not bad, Enko admitted, her professional assessment evident in her tone. But you're missing something. What? A wild card. She smirked, the old, dangerous light dancing in her eyes, the one that had first caught Naruto's attention in that other world. Someone unpredictable enough to throw off even the Rinnegan's calculations. Got someone in mind? Naruto asked, though the answering grin spreading across his face suggested he already knew. My guy, Enko said decisively. That green-clad lunatic is the most unpredictable fighter in Konoha. Even I can't always follow his moves, and I specialized in psychological warfare. Perfect. Naruto agreed, pulling her closer until their foreheads touched. The rain streamed down around them, a silver curtain isolating them in their own private world. We leave in 2 days, and until then, he murmured, voice dropping lower. We make every moment count. Morning dawned clear and bright, the rain having washed the world clean overnight. Naruto rose early, slipping from bed without waking Enko, and padded silently to the twins' room. In the soft, golden light filtering through the window, he watched his son sleep. Erasure sprawled like a starfish across his futon, Minato curled into a tight ball with his blanket pulled over his head. The sight pushed a lump into Naruto's throat. These boys, this tiny family he and Enko had created, they were everything. Worth fighting for. Worth dying for if necessary. But living for them? That was the harder, braver choice, and the one Naruto intended to make. The day passed in a whirlwind of preparation. Naruto moved through the village, gathering his chosen team members, briefing them on the mission, planning strategies. Though the mission was classified, word spread quickly through Konoha's shinobi ranks that something significant was brewing. By afternoon, Naruto found himself standing before Tsunade in her private medical laboratory, stripped to the waist as the former Hokage and legendary medical ninja conducted a more thorough examination of his transformed chakra network. Remarkable, she muttered, more to herself than to him, as her glowing hands traced the pathways of energy flowing beneath his skin. The integration is nearly seamless. The Nine-Tails chakra flows alongside your own without corrosion or contamination. Told you, Naruto said for what felt like the 100th time. Kurama and I worked it out. Tsunade stepped back, her amber eyes sharp with scientific curiosity. And there's no negative feedback? No strain on your organs or chakra pathways when you draw on his power? Not anymore. Naruto shook his head. In the beginning, yeah? It burned. But Kurama helped me adapt my system to handle it better. He grinned suddenly. Turns out even-tailed beasts don't want their hosts dying on them. Bad for business. I'd like to speak with him, Tsunade said abruptly. Naruto blinked in surprise. With Kurama? Why? Professional curiosity, she replied with a small smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. And tactical necessity. If you're going up against Pain, I want to know exactly what resources we have at our disposal. Naruto hesitated, then nodded. It's not as simple as flipping a switch, you know. He doesn't just take over, I understand. But surely there's a way to facilitate communication. There is, Naruto conceded. But it's not pretty. And you might want to step back. Tsunade raised an eyebrow but took a few steps away, her posture shifting subtly into one ready for combat if necessary. Old habits died hard. Naruto closed his eyes, centering himself. When he opened them again, they had changed. The blue irises transformed to slitted crimson, burning with an ancient power. His whisker marks deepened, becoming more pronounced against his suddenly feral features. Lady Tsunade, rumbled a voice that was Naruto's and yet not, deeper, layered with power and age beyond human reckoning. The kid says you wish to speak with me. Tsunade managed to hide her shock, though her hands tightened at her sides. Kurama, I presume? When the transformed Naruto inclined his head in affirmation, she continued. I want to know what you know about pain. About the Rinnegan. About what we're facing. A low, rumbling chuckle emanated from Naruto's throat. What I know would fill libraries your kind has never seen. But I'll tell you this. The one who calls himself Pain is merely a puppet. The real threat is the shadow behind him. The one called Tobi, who wears an orange mask and claims to be Madara Uchiha. Claims to be? Tsunade frowned. You don't believe he is? I faced Madara Uchiha in combat when he controlled me decades ago. This one smells different. But he possesses a Sharingan of remarkable power, and knowledge he should not have. Kurama's presence made Naruto's face twist into a snarl. The Akatsuki seek to gather all 9-tailed beasts to recreate the 10 tails. If they succeed, this world will burn. The 10 tails? Tsunade repeated, her face paling slightly. I thought that was just a legend. Many things you think are legends walking on 2 legs, human. Kurama growled. The 10 tails was real. Is real in a fragmented state. We 9 beasts were once a single entity, separated by the Sage of 6 Paths. If reunited. He left the sentence hanging, but the temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. And Pain's abilities? The Rinnegan sees all forms of chakra. It can absorb ninjutsu, repel physical attacks, summon creatures bound to its will, extract souls, control gravity, and bring the dead back to life, though at great cost to the user. Kurama's voice grew contemplative. But the eyes Pain wears are not his own by birth. They were transplanted, and that creates weaknesses we can exploit. What kind of weaknesses? Tsunade pressed, her mind racing with tactical possibilities. Each path has a single ability, and each requires chakra to maintain. Separate them, isolate them, and they become vulnerable. And the real Pain, the controller of the 6 paths, must be within a certain range to maintain his jutsu. Find him, and the rest fall. Tsunade leaned forward, her honey-colored eyes bright with calculated intensity. And the chakra receivers, those black rods embedded in the paths, they're the conduits for this control? Kurama's laugh rumbled through the room like distant thunder. Impressive, human. Yes. Destroy those, and the connection weakens. But be warned, they absorb chakra on contact. Only taijutsu and natural energy can bypass their defenses completely. Natural energy. Tsunade murmured, a thoughtful expression crossing her face. Like sage mode, precisely. The crimson eyes flashed with something like approval. The kid has the potential for it. In our time away, he began to develop the ability, but it remains unfinished. Can it be completed in time? Not without proper training. Not before Pain arrives. A growl of frustration vibrated through Naruto's chest. But the kid has other advantages. Our merged chakra can simulate some effects of natural energy. It may be enough. Tsunade straightened, her decision made. Thank you, Kurama. Your knowledge could save many lives. I care nothing for human lives. The beast snarled, though something in his tone rang hollow. But this kid, he has earned my respect. And his offspring carry interesting potential. The crimson eyes narrowed. I will not allow them to fall into Akatsuki hands. With that, the feral features receded, the burning eyes fading back to blue as Naruto reclaimed control. He staggered slightly, catching himself against a nearby table. Well? He asked, wiping sweat from his brow. Get what you needed? Tsunade nodded, her expression grave. More than I expected. Kurama is not what legends painted him to be. He's still a grumpy furball most of the time. Naruto grinned, though exhaustion pulled at his features. But yeah, he's more than just a chakra beast. He's got reasons for how he is. History, don't we all? Tsunade murmured, her hand unconsciously rising to touch the seal on her forehead. Go home, Naruto. Rest. You'll need your strength for tomorrow's preparations. As Naruto left the laboratory, he found Sakura waiting in the corridor outside, her pink hair pulled back and her expression uncharacteristically hesitant. "Hey," she greeted, falling into step beside him. "How'd it go in there?" "Fine," he shrugged. "Granny Tsunade just wanted to check my chakra network." "And talk to Kurama." Sakura's eyes widened. "She spoke to the Nine Tails?" "Directly? It's not as weird as it sounds." Naruto laughed, then sobered as he took in her troubled expression. "What's up, Sakura-chan? You look like you've got something on your mind." She hesitated, glancing around the empty corridor before pulling him into a nearby alcove. "It's about the mission," she said, her voice low. "Intercepting pain. What about it?" "I've been studying the medical reports from the last time pain attacked Konoha," she explained, her green eyes grave. "The injuries he inflicted. Naruto, I've never seen anything like it. Cellular disruption at a quantum level. Gravitational trauma that liquefied organs without breaking the skin." She shuddered at the memory of the files. "I'm not sure I can heal wounds like that in the field." Naruto placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "I'm not asking you to perform miracles, Sakura-chan. Just do what you can. Besides," he flashed a confident grin, "the plan is to take them down before they can use those techniques on us. And if the plan fails?" she challenged, not easily reassured. "If we're outmatched?" His expression hardened, determination radiating from him like heat from a forge. "Then we adapt. We survive. We find another way. That's what we've always done, right?" Sakura studied his face, the face of the boy who had once been her annoying teammate, now transformed into the man standing before her. Confidence and calm authority wrapped around him like a cloak. Something in her chest tightened with an emotion she couldn't quite name. "Right," she agreed finally, managing a small smile. "Just be careful out there. All of us have already mourned you once. I don't think we could do it again. Not planning on giving you the chance." He winked, lightening the moment. "Now I've got to go. I'm meeting Shikamaru to go over final strategy. And if I'm late, he'll just complain about how troublesome I am." Sakura watched him stride away, his back straight, shoulders set with the burden of responsibility he carried. For a brief moment, she was reminded of another blonde shinobi whose face was carved into the mountain above them, the fourth Hokage, who had sacrificed everything for the village. The resemblance had never been so striking. Across the village, in a quiet corner of a training ground, Anko Mitarashi stood watching her sons practice basic chakra control exercises. Both boys sat cross-legged on the grass, eyes closed in concentration as leaves stuck to their foreheads, a beginner's technique that Irika had taught them that morning. Arashi's leaf quivered and fell, breaking his concentration. "I almost had it that time," he complained, scooping up the leaf for another attempt. "Focus on your breathing," Anko instructed, her voice gentler than most in Konoha would believe possible. "Feel the chakra as a part of you, not something separate you're trying to control. Like how Two-san talks to Kurama-san?" Minato asked, his leaf still firmly attached to his forehead. Anko froze, her eyes sharpening on her younger son. "What do you know about Kurama?" Minato opened his eyes, looking confused at her sudden intensity. "He's the fox inside Two-san. He helped us get home." He tilted his head, brow furrowing. "Didn't you know that?" Exchanging a startled glance with her other son, who nodded in confirmation, Anko crouched before the twins. "How long have you known about Kurama?" "Forever." Erasure shrugged, as if stating the obvious. "We see him sometimes, in our dreams. He's really big and orange with lots of tails, and grumpy," Minato added with a giggle. "But he likes us. He says we're interesting kits." A cold shiver ran down Anko's spine. Naruto had mentioned that Kurama had helped the twins create the portal home, but he never suggested the beast communicated directly with their children. This was unexpected, and potentially concerning. "Has Kurama ever tried to make you do anything?" she asked carefully, keeping her tone conversational despite her racing heart. "Or asked you to keep secrets from your father and me?" Both boys shook their heads emphatically. "He mostly just watches," Erasure explained. "Sometimes he tells us stories about the old days, when he was free and ran through forests bigger than this whole village, and he taught us how to feel the special energy in that other place." Minato added. The one that helped us come home. Anko digested this information, her mind whirling with implications. If the Nine Tails was communicating with her sons, it meant their chakra networks must have some connection to Naruto's, or perhaps to the beast itself. The thought was simultaneously fascinating and terrifying. Is Kurama why those other kids were afraid to play with us? Erasure asked suddenly, his small face troubled. Because he's inside Tucson? The question pierced Anko's heart. She reached out, pulling both boys close to her. Some people fear what they don't understand, she explained carefully. Your father carries Kurama, yes, and that makes him special. Different. And sometimes people are afraid of different. That's stupid, Minato declared with a child's unequivocal judgment. Tucson is the best. And Kurama's not scary. He's just big and loud. Anko laughed to spite herself, ruffling his hair. You're right, it is stupid. But people will learn in time. They learn to see your father for who he really is, and they'll do the same for you too. Her expression grew serious again. But Minato, Erasure, I want you to promise me something. If Kurama ever tells you to do something that feels wrong, or if he ever seems different, angry in a scary way, you tell me or your father right away. Understand? Both boys nodded solemnly, sensing the importance behind her words. Good. She smiled, rising to her feet. Now, that's enough chakra practice for today. How about we get some dango on the way home? Their excited cheers banished the last of the tension. But as Anko watched her sons race ahead toward the village, her shinobi instincts remained on high alert. There was more to this situation than met the eye, and she intended to have a long conversation with Naruto about it tonight. Some secrets were too dangerous to keep, even between a tailed beast and its host. The sun hung low on the horizon, painting Konoha in hues of gold and amber, as Naruto made his way to his final meeting of the day. The Hyuga compound loomed ahead, its traditional architecture an island of constancy in a village that had been rebuilt and reimagined after Pain's attack. Guards nodded respectfully as he approached the gates, a far cry from the suspicious glares he remembered from his youth. Inside, the compound was a study in elegant simplicity. Carefully raked stone gardens, precisely trimmed bonsai, and the soft murmur of a bamboo fountain creating an atmosphere of serene discipline. Hinata waited for him in a small reception room, kneeling gracefully at a low table where tea had been prepared. She rose as he entered, her movements fluid and graceful. Naruto-kun. She greeted him with a small bow, her voice soft but lacking the stammer of her younger days. Thank you for coming. Thanks for agreeing to meet, Hinata, he replied, settling across from her at the table. I know it's short notice. She poured tea with practiced movements, the ceremonial gesture allowing her to gather her thoughts. You're assembling a team to intercept Pain, she said, not a question but a statement of fact. News travels fast, Naruto observed, accepting the cup she offered. The Byakugan sees much, she replied with a small smile. And my position as clan heir comes with certain informational privileges. Naruto studied her over the rim of his cup. The years had transformed the shy, stammering girl he remembered into this composed, confident woman. Her indigo hair fell in a sleek curtain to her waist, and her pale eyes met his steadily, without the blushes and averted gazes of the past. I need your eyes on this mission, Hinata, he said simply. No one else can track chakra pathways like a Hyuga. And from what we know of Pain's abilities, identifying those black receivers will be crucial. Hinata nodded, her expression serious. I've been studying the reports from the previous attack. My Byakugan has a range of at least 10 kilometers now. I should be able to locate the real Pain controlling the 6 paths from a safe distance. That's impressive. Naruto grinned, genuine admiration in his voice. You've really grown strong, Hinata. A faint blush tinged her cheeks. Some things hadn't changed entirely, but she maintained her composure. We've all had to grow stronger, Naruto-kun. After you disappeared, after the war, none of us could afford to remain as we were. His expression sobered at the reminder of all he had missed. I wish I could have been here, he said quietly. Fighting alongside you all. You were, she replied, surprising him. At his confused look, she continued. Or at least someone we believed was you. He called himself Naruto Uzumaki, Fought with your techniques. You even had a similar chakra signature. For a long time, I thought it was really you, returned from wherever you had gone. Menma. Naruto murmured, the name leaving a strange taste in his mouth. I've heard about him. Did you know him well? Hinata's gaze grew distant, recalling memories that seemed to both pain and comfort her. Not as well as I would have liked. He kept people at a distance, not unlike Sasuke in that way. He fought brilliantly during the war, saved countless lives. Her voice softened. But he never quite fit. There was something missing, something that made you uniquely you. Your eyes really do see everything. Naruto said with a rueful smile. Not everything, she replied, meeting his gaze directly. I didn't see that you would return with a family. With Anko-san. There was no accusation in her tone, only a wistful acceptance. Naruto's hand tightened around his teacup. This was the conversation he had been both expecting and dreading since his return. Hinata, she raised a hand, stopping him. You don't need to explain, Naruto-kun. 6 years is a lifetime. We all made choices, built lives in your absence. A soft, genuine smile curved her lips. Your sons are beautiful. They have your spirit. And Anko-san, she brings out a different side of you. One I've never seen before. It suits you. Relief washed through him, followed immediately by a deep appreciation for the remarkable woman sitting across from him. Thank you, he said simply. For understanding, I've had years to practice. She replied with gentle humor. Now about the mission. I have some ideas about how we might counter the Deva Path's gravitational abilities. As they slipped into tactical discussion, Naruto felt a burden lift from his shoulders. The past didn't need to be a weight dragging them down. It could be a foundation to build upon. And in Hinata Hyuga, he recognized not the lovesick girl she had once been, but a powerful ally and, he hoped, a true friend. Night had fallen by the time Naruto finally returned home, the streets of Konoha illuminated by lanterns that cast pools of warm light in the darkness. The house was quiet when he entered, most of the lights extinguished save for a single lamp in the living room. Anko sat cross-legged on the floor, cleaning her weapons with methodical precision, a ritual she had performed countless times throughout her shinobi career. The lamplight gleamed on the blade of a kunai as she tested its edge against her thumb. The boys asleep? Naruto asked softly, dropping onto the cushion beside her. 4 hours now, she confirmed, setting aside the kunai to pick up another. They wore themselves out at the training grounds. Apparently, chakra control is super boring but also kinda cool, Naruto chuckled. Sounds about right. How'd they do? Minato's a natural. Kept that leaf stuck to his forehead for nearly 20 minutes on his first try. Pride colored her voice despite her attempt at casual indifference. Arashi's more impatient, but he gets it eventually. Just like his father. Hey, Naruto protested mildly, nudging her with his shoulder. I'll have you know I've gotten much better at patience, when it suits you. She conceded with a smirk, then sobered. We need to talk about the boys. And Kurama. The shift in her tone alerted him immediately. What happened? Anko set her weapons aside, turning to face him fully. They told me today that they communicate with Kurama. That they see him in their dreams and he tells them stories. Her amber eyes fixed on his, searching. Did you know about this? Naruto's breath caught. No, he admitted, shock evident in his voice. I knew Kurama helped them create the portal home, but I thought it was through me. Through our connection. I had no idea he was communicating with them directly. Well, he is, Anko stated flatly. They speak of him like he's some kind of spirit guide or imaginary friend. They said he calls them interesting kids. That sounds like him. Naruto muttered, mind racing. But I don't understand how it's possible. The seal containing him is inside me, not them. Maybe it's your blood, Anko suggested. A genetic connection that lets him reach out to them in some way. Or maybe it's something about that other dimension. You said chakra worked differently there. Naruto closed his eyes, reaching inward to the presence that always resided in the depths of his consciousness. Kurama, he called silently. We need to talk. Now, the response was immediate, a rumbling chuckle that vibrated through his mindscape. I was wondering when this would come up, the Nine-Tails replied, sounding more amused than concerned. Your mate is quite protective of her cubs. Our sons are not cubs, Naruto retorted, and you had no right to communicate with them without our knowledge. I had every right, Kurama growled. They carry my chakra too, Kit. A small portion, transferred through your bloodline. It created a connection. One that proved useful when we needed to find our way home. Did it not? That's not the point. And you know it, Naruto argued, frustration mounting. They're children, Kurama. 5 years old. Whatever connection exists, you should have told me about it. The fox's voice grew serious, losing its mocking edge. They are special, Naruto. More special than you realize. They were born between worlds, with chakra that resonates differently than any human I've encountered in millennia. I've done nothing to harm them, quite the opposite. I've been teaching them to understand the power that flows through their veins. Without their parents' permission, Naruto pointed out stubbornly. A heavy sigh rumbled through his mind. Very well. Consider this your notification, parent. I can speak to your offspring through their dreams. I have been doing so since they were infants. I have told them stories of the ancient world and helped them understand their unique chakra. I have not tried to influence them against you or your mate. Satisfied? Hardly, Naruto grumbled, but he sensed this was as close to an apology as he was likely to get from the prideful beast. Just, no more secrets, all right? Especially not about my kids, agreed, Kurama replied with surprising readiness. Now, perhaps you should return your attention to your mate. She looks displeased. Naruto opened his eyes to find Anko staring at him, arms crossed and one eyebrow raised in the expression that usually preceded something sharp being thrown in his direction. Well? She demanded. What did the furball have to say for himself? Naruto relayed Kurama's explanation, watching as Anko's expression shifted from irritation to thoughtful concern. Born between worlds, she repeated, focusing on the phrase that had caught her attention. What exactly does that mean? I'm not sure, Naruto admitted. But I've noticed it too, Anko. The way the chakra feels different. The way they sometimes know things they shouldn't. Remember when Erishur found that hidden spring on our way back from the market yesterday? He said he could feel the water singing underground, and Minato's nightmares, Anko added quietly. The ones where he sees places burning that he's never been to. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of parental concern heavy between them. What do we do? Anko finally asked, vulnerability showing through her usual armor of sarcasm and strength. Naruto reached for her hand, entwining his fingers with hers. We protect them. We help them understand their abilities. And we make damn sure that Pain and the Akatsuki never get within 100 miles of them, by intercepting them first. She nodded, determination hardening her features. Taking the fight to them instead of waiting. Exactly. He squeezed her hand. But tonight we rest. Tomorrow's preparations will be intense, and we need to be at our best. Anko's lips curved into a predatory smile that sent a familiar thrill down his spine. Rest? Is that really what you had in mind, Uzumaki? He matched her smile with one of his own, equally hungry. Well, maybe not right away. Hours later, as moonlight streamed through the open window, Naruto lay awake beside his sleeping wife. The rhythmic rise and fall of her breathing usually lulled him to sleep, but tonight his mind refused to quiet. Tomorrow they would finalize preparations. The day after, they would depart to intercept Pain before he could reach Konoha. Everything hung in the balance. The village, the future, his family. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him like a physical force. A soft sound from down the hall caught his attention. The creak of a floorboard, the patter of small feet. He slipped from bed without disturbing Anko and padded to the doorway. Minato stood in the hallway, clutching his stuffed toad to his chest, his eyes wide and frightened in the moonlight. Bad dream, little man? Naruto asked softly, crouching down to his son's level. Minato nodded, his lower lip trembling. I saw the man with the ringed eyes again. He whispered. He was looking for you too, San. He was so angry. A chill swept through Naruto. The man with the ringed eyes, he repeated carefully. You've seen him before? Sometimes, Minato admitted. In my dreams. Kurama-san says not to be scared, that you're stronger than the ring-eyed man. But tonight he felt closer. Naruto gathered his son into his arms, lifting him easily. Kurama's right, he assured the boy, carrying him back to the twins' room. I am stronger. And do you know why? Why? Minato asked, his small arms wrapped around Naruto's neck. Because I have something to protect. Naruto replied simply, laying him back in his futon and tucking the blanket around him. Something more precious than anything in the world. What is it? The boy asked, already growing drowsy again in the safety of his father's presence. Naruto smiled, pressing a kiss to his forehead. You, he whispered. You and Erasure and your mother. My family. And I promise you, Minato, no one with ringed eyes or without is ever going to harm you. Not while I'm around. Promise? Minato murmured, eyelids drooping. I promise. Naruto vowed, the words carrying the weight of his nindo behind them. Now sleep. Dreams can't hurt you, and I'm right here. He remained beside his son until the boy's breathing deepened into sleep, then checked on Erasure, who remained blissfully lost in untroubled dreams. One arm flung above his head in characteristic abandon. As he gazed down at his sleeping sons, Naruto felt a resolve crystallize within him. Whatever happened in the coming days, whatever sacrifice might be required of him, one thing was certain. These boys would grow up in a world of peace, not war. They would know their father not as a legend or a memory, but as a constant, loving presence in their lives. Even if it meant facing down a god. Dawn broke over Konoha with a brilliant cascade of gold and crimson, as if the heavens themselves were aflame. Naruto stood atop the Hokage monument, watching as the village below stirred to life. Smoke rising from chimneys, merchants setting up stalls in the marketplace, shinobi gathering for early training sessions. From this height, the bustle of activity appeared deceptively peaceful, the everyday rhythm of a village unaware that its fate hung in the balance. By this time tomorrow, Naruto and his team would be far from these walls, racing to intercept pain before he could reach Konoha. The thought weighed heavily on him. A stone lodged beneath his ribs. Brooding doesn't suit you. A voice remarked from behind him. It's more the Uchiha style. Naruto turned to find Kakashi standing a few paces away, the rising sun glinting off his silver hair. The Hokage robe was absent today, replaced by standard Jonin attire that spoke of his intentions more clearly than words could. Don't tell me. Naruto's eyes widened slightly. You're coming with us? Kakashi's visible eye crinkled in what might have been a smile beneath his mask. I've delegated the village's administrative duties to Shizen for the next few days. Consider it a field exercise, but you're the Hokage. Naruto protested, though relief and gratitude colored his voice. You can't just what? Lead from the front? Fight beside my comrades? Kakashi interrupted mildly. Strange. I thought that was precisely what a Hokage should do. Naruto couldn't argue with that logic. The council approved this? The council was informed of my decision. Kakashi replied delicately. Sometimes it's easier to ask forgiveness than permission, don't you think? A grin spread across Naruto's face, recognizing the echo of his own youthful philosophy. I knew I wasn't crazy when I nominated you for Hokage.